Hello everyone, my name is the Chemist77 and welcome to episode 36 of Farming Minecraft. I am back with a full proper setup, mic and everything. So nice and recording whilst I'm actually filming this. Or yeah, recording audio whilst I'm recording the video itself at the same time. Is very nice indeed to be doing. But yeah, today we're going to be building one of the biggest farms I've built. I think it might only be the ice farm that is bigger than it, but even then it's tight because this one's definitely taller. Um, and we can see because they're not rendered in, but there's the shadows of the shulker boxes that I'm using down there. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will first of all you would have seen a picture of my new setup. Which I am very, very pleased with. It's come out really nicely. New desk, new monitor arms. Yeah, really nice. But yeah, you will also have seen a while ago a fully automatic mud and clay farm that I designed. And if you didn't, it looks like this. So yeah, as always, we've got our like Matica schematic in the world. I know some people aren't particular fans of this. I know it came up in a Mumbo Jumbo video recently on his Hermitcraft when he was building the weird robot thing. So that Hermitcraft just goes bonkers all the time. Anyway, and he was saying, outside of the really complex things like the walking robot thing, he doesn't like to use like Matica because he prefers to do it organically. And fair enough, I fully respect that. Personally, for me, I'm a very methodical, very specific person, so I really like having the Matica tool. Just so I know what I'm building. I don't really have to think too much about as I'm building it, and also it just saves me having to go back and forth between instances whilst I'm building. I find having designed it in creative to then build it up here in survival to be able to gather all the materials that I need exactly. That's a big thing that I really like, the material list, which I can show here. A lot of dripstone. um, but yeah, so I much prefer having this. I can just sort of free flow and methodically build this up, which sort of seems a bit sort of uh, what's the word? Contradictory. Um, but yeah, so this is, yeah, like I said, one of the largest farms. I go back into solid rendering that I have ever designed. Over 19 stacks of crying obsidian as well. 45 stacks, nearly, yeah, 45 stacks of pointed dripstone and dripstone blocks. It was a lot of time spent AFKing at the dripstone farm. But yeah, I'll explain how it works properly once I've built it, as always. But we can just do a quick run through here. And again, if you've watched the little video on my Instagram, you'll have a bit of an understanding of what's going on. But we have a dirt to mud converter, and that will then either push the mud into this blast chamber, or we'll push it out here. We've got this little thing there, you'll see how that works later, which pushes it onto this massive, and we've got 4 of them, dripstone arrays. So in 1.19, I think it was, or 1.18, I can't remember, clay was made fully renewable. So if you have mud on top of a block on top of a pointed dripstone, I don't actually think it has to be a dripstone block. I did kind of make life a lot more difficult for myself there than it needed to be. But yeah, mud on top of a solid block on top of a pointed dripstone. It works like, I don't know, you can think of it as the dripstone will sort of slowly drip the water out of the mud and you're left with clay. Now, the reason this has to be so big, I think we've got 5 layers of dripstone, and so what happens is it goes across, pushes across, and then down, and it just keeps zigzagging all the way down until it gets to this blast chamber here, which we've got TNT Jeepers there. It has to be so long because it's random tick based, so it's the same thing that makes crops grow, same thing that makes copper oxidize. So yeah, it's not the fastest thing in the world. And at the end here, we do still have a very few mud blocks. You see me down there. Very few mud blocks that are still left here, but all this goes to the same filtered storage system anyway, so it's not too much of a problem. It's just it wasn't worth the extra materials to add another 2 layers down, because we can't really do another 1 layer to go across this way, because this is where the collection system for the mud is, and so that has to come down here and then go back up. And we possibly could have fit some more TNT Jeepers down there, but I didn't want to risk it. Anyway, this works just fine, and we've actually got it so you can split it into 2 sides. So there's a couple levers here. We can see we've got one off. This one does the left hand side, so when that's switched on, the wall is down, and this means we'll be pushing the mud over to be converted to clay like that. And this side is switched off, which means the wall is up, which means this is just going to make mud. And so it's not necessarily the case that you either have to make loads of clay, which uses a lot of dirt, because if you've got to think, there's going to be blocks all along here. And I do have a way of farming dirt, which I'll show you in just a sec. And yeah, so we can turn sort of one side on, one side off with the clay, and we can farm both at the same time, pretty much. Anyway, farming dirt. Farming dirt's an interesting one. I need more rockets, hang on. Anyway, farming dirt is an interesting one. There's a few ways you can do it. There is podzol farms, so using 2x2 spruce trees to grow podzol, which then gets pushed into a blast chamber and replaced by a stone generator and then moss converter. That's a really good way of farming dirt. It is very complicated though, because of the nature of 2x2 spruce tree farms. They're directional and yeah, all a bit crazy, and I don't quite have the time for that at the minute. Maybe in the future we'll add one in, but for now I am actually, that's the wrong button, using my concrete converter. Now unfortunately, for this to work, I do have to make use of the Tweakaroo fast right click function. And I'll show you what I mean. You can see I've added just a few filters for dirt along here. But if I grab out a couple stacks of dirt and then go grab a couple stacks of gravel from our gravity block jeeper, so bear with me a second. Okay, so I've got 2 stacks of dirt and 2 stacks of gravel. And this is very important, because what you can do is make coarse dirt. So 2 dirt and 2 gravel will make 4 coarse dirt. And this is actually infinitely renewable dirt. So gravel, obviously we can get from the bartering farm. We can also get it from our gravity block duper as well. And what you can then do is, if I grab a hoe out from my tools shulker box, doesn't have to be Silk Touch or Fortune, can be whatever. What I can then do is place the dirt down and then hoe it. Just like that, it's turned into normal dirt. What I can also do is put dirt in my offhand and hold right click, and it does it. Now it does also convert it to farmland. Isn't too much of a problem. But yeah, what this means is we can use our little system here. Now, okay, so I say it has to make use of my fast right click function, because it means, and this is very loud, so I'm going to turn our blocks off for a second. It means that we can essentially instantly do this. Now, it doesn't have to be, I'm just doing it with the fast right click because it's as fast as possible. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually work with 0 ticking. because it's so fast that it converts the dirt to farmland, which is not redstone conductive. So that's how this works. You place a block here, it conducts the redstone and goes up before the piston can fire it out the way. So you end up with just a block of farmland left. So what we actually have to do is I've added an extra clock on the side here, which I can then come in, pop our fast right click on, and if I come into FreeCam, we can see it working like so. And this works exactly the same as the concrete converter, because it is the concrete converter. It's just been rigged up to work with this as well. And yeah, you can see it works fast. Obviously, it's not quite as fast as the concrete because we're not zero ticking this. It's just a 4 game tick clock, but it works the same in principle. And again, if I wanted to make large quantities of coarse dirt, I can fill up the chests here and they will still get fired just down there. But anyway, dirt farming aside, which I will do some more on off camera so we can really show this working. And I might do a little bit of a time lapse of it working as well. Dirt farming aside, this is the main focus of what we want to do. So I don't think there's anything else left to mention. And yeah, as always, we can jump straight into a time lapse. Let's go. And there we go. One fully automatic mud and clay farm built up. This actually took quite a while. I've not looked at the replay mod file yet, but yeah, mostly getting these up was just really awkward. You probably saw the scaffolding, particularly with these bits of pointed dripstone here. I don't think I've missed any. Let's go have a look on the verifier. Start verification. These are all fine. That's just because I flicked a lever. Wrong states. There's nothing wrong here. Extra blocks. Frog lights. Fine. There's a few shulker boxes. These are in a different place to the schematic. That's why. Missing blocks. There is a reason for these missing blocks, and that is if I turn on the schematic. So this farm went through a few different iterations. And yeah, originally the collection system for this did just come straight across to here and here, and then I added the automatic clay part, the clay collection, because before it was just this top layer, and then the plan would be I'd come across and mine it all once it's done. But I added this because we could do it fully automatically. But yeah, so that's there. And actually, I have just remembered there is a piston missing. I was one piston short somehow. I'm not quite sure how, but yeah. So we are. I'm gonna go get another piston before we turn this on, because otherwise it will just break probably. Okay, piston acquired. I gotta try and in position here. I think do that. There we go. So we can now turn this farm on. You can sort of see what's going to happen with the sort of whoopsies first few bits of dirt I put in there. So you can come land on here. I've got 6 shulker boxes of dirt. I did off camera because I don't think you particularly want to watch me sit at my blast chamber over there. So I don't know how long it was. I don't know, like an hour maybe? Maybe not quite that long, maybe like 40 minutes, but yeah. So anyway, yes, we're going to stand here, place dirt. We've just got a 0-tick piston. So obviously, just quick recap on that. We place the block there. The torch powers it, which powers the redstone dust, which powers the target block. Powering the target block also powers this piston, which then updates this piston into the fact that it's being powered also by the target block through quasi-connectivity, which is things like pistons can be powered diagonally upwards. And of course, once this piston realizes it's powered, it pushes this block out of the way, which depowers the whole thing, again, updating the piston and depowering it. So, you can see changing the schematic. So what I have currently, these 2 lamps are off, which means that both sides, the left-hand side and the right-hand side, are going to be converted into mud and just sent straight into the blast chamber. You can see these walls up means that this observer is never going to update as blocks come past, which means this piston is never going to push the blocks out here. So we have a little block splitter just here. Each time this gets powered, we get a signal out of here as well because of the redstone there. And that pulses this block in and out, which alternates whether or not this piston gets fired. You'll see that when we turn the farm on. And then the blocks come forwards. And again, we've got a little alternator, so this piston will only ever fire every 2 times. And what that means is that we get blocks going down here and down here. And this is so we can use a 0-tick at the first part over there. So that's actually placing mud down basically as fast as we can in the game, but obviously the redstone for dispensers and stuff takes a little longer, so that's why we've got to split the blocks up first and then a second time. So we have 4 mud converters, which you can see is the redstone for the lime concrete. Now these are set up exactly the same, just mirrored I guess. And so in here we have 8 bottles, and then 1 in each of all of these. And then this hopper is completely filled up, except for 1 stack, which is at 63. And this is of glass bottles. And then this dispenser is completely full. And now what you can't see, because it has to be enclosed, is we have a waterlogged mangrove root in here. It doesn't have to be mangrove root, be a slab. It doesn't even have to be a waterlogged something. It could just be water. It's just roots and leaves are very useful for this because it means the water doesn't go everywhere as you're trying to build it, which in redstone is very, very important. But anyway, so we can see then all we have is the dirt gets pushed in front of this dispenser. This is where the water bottles are. This redstone block and this redstone dust then powers that dirt block, which actually powers and triggers the dispenser, which converts the dirt into mud. And so what we then get, as soon as that happens, this observer sees that this dispenser is fired and basically powers all of this redstone dust here. And what this does is power every single thing at once. It powers this dispenser, which has bottles in, so that creates another water bottle which falls into this hopper and into this dropper, and then all of these other droppers get fired at the same time. So essentially all of these water bottles that you see here just sort of hop one dropper along each time we get converted into mud, and it's the exact same on all 4 of these, like so. So let's get some mud out. Sorry, not mud. Let's get some dirt out. We're going to make some mud. We'll grab a few stacks of that, and you'll see we go 1, 2, they get pushed forward, 3, 4, they get pushed forward, and they go out. And we can see that then converted into mud. If I hold down right click, you can see, and you can also hear, oh hello, we missed one there. Something has gone wrong in the back right there. Let me see if I can fix that quickly. It's possibly just a slight issue that I've done in filling the dispensers, I imagine. Okay, I've got it working again. I have no idea what was going on with that. I'll be honest, it was set up exactly the same as all the other ones, and yet for some reason it was just being a bit weird. There was issues with this hopper actually not going underneath here. Double checking, it shouldn't be getting locked, I don't think, unless it was getting locked by this one, I don't know, but I seem to have fixed it now. Interestingly, the only difference between is I've taken out this block which was there, and it seems to be working now. If I hold right click, you can see I did a little bit more testing, and we can see the TNT dropping down here, and we're getting some mud, which is very nice. Although the TNT dupers are out of sync, which is actually kind of annoying. I'll fix that at a later date. Basically, it's just resetting these 2 observers here. Anyway, so we can see that this works just fine. But then, say we wanted some clay, what we can do is flick this lever on the left here. What that then does is, and you can see here, it pushes these walls down, which essentially activates these pistons right here. And so what's going to happen, and it's the same on this side, is the mud, rather than getting pushed into the blast chamber, and because the blast chamber is linked to these walls, it's not going to go. It's going to come across here. We've got another 0-tick piston just here, and it's going to get sent all the way along here, and then I have this observer, and then it's going to send all the way down. And again, same over on this side, 0-tick piston just there. It gets sent all the way along to here, changes the shape of that wall, and then yeah, gets pushed all the way down. And we can see there's a wall here, and it's the same on all 4 of them. And we've got a similar thing to what we're doing with the observers there. So every 4th time this changes shapes, every 4 times blocks get pushed, we fire these TNT dupers here. And we've got 2 on each module, 2 there, 2 there, 2 there, and 2 there. And yeah, so because we've just activated the one side, make sure this is still working. It's so weird, I don't know why that wasn't. But yeah, then we can see that over here, this mud is still going into the blast chamber. We should see more TNT go off in a second. There we go. Meanwhile over here, the mud is slowly getting pushed out onto our chamber, and we can see some bits have already turned into clay. And so this is basically how renewable clay works. We can get dirt renewably, we can use machines like this to convert it into mud, and then slowly push it over pointed dripstone, turn it back into clay. You can see a few more happening. And nothing's gone over here yet. Oh, there's one just as we, just as I speak. But yeah, but say we want even more clay. Well, then we can turn on both sides. And this works by turning off that side, I should clarify. So we can turn off the left side, and now this will go into the blast chamber. This will get pushed over here. Or, should we so wish, we can have both of them on. And that is what I'm going to do for this. I don't have any particular need for mud right now. And in fact, I think we should be able to see. I'm trying to think which way the item sorter goes. I think it's this way. Yeah, we've got a few bits of mud just in there, a little bit in there. This is just a loop. There's not necessarily any fire overflow protection. All that happens is it's all just going to keep going round until they despawn. You can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 item filters here for clay balls, because of course if you blow up clay, it turns into clay balls, not the clay block itself, because you need silk touch to mine it. Hence why we need so many item filters, particularly if we are running all of them at once. See as well down here, somewhat annoyingly, we've got endermen spawning. I'll be honest, I did not think they could spawn in pointed dripstone. Evidently they can, but hopefully once we get some blocks down here, which I should have enough. I mean, I've got 6 shulker boxes of dirt. Yeah, once we've got blocks down there, then that won't be a problem. So yeah, I think I might time-lapse just filling these up a bit. So I'm going to stand here, hold right-click, and yeah, we'll do a little time-lapse. It'll be fun to see. Okay, and we should just about start seeing, there we go, our first few bits come down. Now the TNT just went off, of course, so I believe it should be about 3 more cycles through when we should first start blowing some clay. And you can see, yeah, there's a couple bits of mud here and there dotted around that have been very stubborn and not converted to clay. But honestly, the number of clay balls we get from this is, you'll see in a bit, is quite large. Also, it would appear, yeah, this sometimes happens. I think it's just the nature of the hold use function. Whoops, I accidentally broke a slime block there. Let's get back into position here. Yeah, I think it's a factor of the fact I use the tweakeroo hold use function. Of course it's doing it now. It didn't do it pretty much the entire time. Whoopsies. Pretty much the entire time whilst I was recording that time lapse. Didn't do it once. And now it just is. So bear with me a second. But yes, you don't need to use tweakeroo to do this. You can just hold down right click. I believe it is F3 and H that you can do whilst you're holding down right click, and it will reload the resource packs, which brings up the Mojang thing. It's done it again, look, oh my goodness me. If I can use this opportunity to show you, so I will hold, I can aim. I hold down right click and then it's not F3 and H, what is it? F3 and Q brings up the thing, the help list. F3 and T, that's it. So hold down right click, F3 and T, let go about nowish. And I am not touching the mouse at all. And it works just the same. And we see a little bit just gets blown up there whilst I've been trying to sort this out. So you can see, and then up they come like so. A few clay balls just coming around, and they'll slowly filter in here. Obviously I've only got 1 clay ball in at the minute, that'll slowly fill up. But yeah, and now we've got this side just coming down as well. And we should see, I expect it's probably this one. Yep. Comes down and blows up, and they all filter. Well, not filter, but, you know, file down in. Come down here. This is just set up with some water streams that go together. There's no glass there for some reason. And then they all come up. And yeah. Once this one starts going as well, very quickly fills up the filters. You can see it's almost a constant stream of clay balls at this point. So yeah. It's very good. Now, why do I need so much clay though? And I'll be honest, it's a question I was kind of asking myself as I was designing this. But there's actually quite a few uses for clay in the game. You can use just regular clay as a decorative block. It's very nice, good for paths and stuff. I mean, I clearly am no builder. You should have to look around and see. But it does make a nice decorative block just as its own. You can smelt clay balls into bricks. So if I want to do any building with actual brick blocks in the future, then I can. Bricks, of course, also used to build flower pots. Well, not build, but make flower pots. And also the new decorative pots that have been introduced in 120. Which I'm really excited to get using a little bit more. Yeah, they seem quite nice to build with. They look good for pillars, and yeah, we'll see what we can do with that in the future. The other thing that is probably the most useful for me as clay is the fact that you can smelt clay into terracotta, and then you can dye said terracotta and smelt it again into glazed terracotta, and that is very useful for large redstone things. You can see here we've got glazed terracotta, and we use glazed terracotta because it does not stick to slime or honey. And what that means is if you want parts not to stick, then you want to use glazed terracotta basically. And we're using it here just to keep the TNT aligned in this sort of I don't know what position this is, X position I think, but that makes it so that it will land on here every time. So yeah, it will land on that crying obsidian every time to blow up the clay. And so actually, before we get going on that again, let's have a look in our storage. See, we've got a few in there, a few in there, a few in there. It's really going. It really is going. Yeah. So let's get back into position just here. There goes that side. And it's probably easier if we turn on hitboxes. You can see all the items built around. Sometimes they overshoot a bit. And go back up. And they go around. So the mud gets picked up there. Clay continues round. And you can see we're already like maxing out the filters. But we're just about keeping up. I could always add some more filters in, just like here-ish. Should the need call for it. But anyway, that will do it for today's episode. 10 hitboxes off. There's my deadpan face placing loads of dirt. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next episode. Bye! Perfect timing.